we want to look at the different structures that make up these cervical vertebrae and the role they play. So we are going to look at the structure and the adaptation to its function. Because we've said the cervical vertebrae are 7 in number, so the first 2 are what we call the atlas and the axis, then the rest are still called the cervical vertebrae. So we always have a structure known as the centrum. And what is the function of this centrum? We say that it is a solid structure. It is a solid structure of the vertebra. And what does it do that it is now the solid structure of the vertebrae? Its function is to support the weight of the vertebra and collectively the centra support the entire vertebral column. So the second part, apart from the centrum, is what we call the transverse. The transverse processes. And where are they found? They are lateral. They are lateral in relation to the centrum, while the neural spine just adjacent to it is dorsal to the centrum. So these projections, these are projections which offer surfaces for muscles and ligaments attachment. Because we are going to be having very many muscles that are bringing about that support system in the body. So apart from the bones that are providing the support, what is going to assist these bones in articulating together and bringing that support and movement in organisms is the fact that there are going to be a lot of transverse processes along the vertebral column that is going to be providing surface area for attachment of the muscles and the ligaments. The third structure is what we call the neural canal, and this neural canal, we say that it is centrally placed on the vertebra, on what we call the vertebra, and it allows for passage of the spinal cord. The fourth structure is what we call the neural arc. The neural arc. And this neural arc, what is the importance? It's an arc of bones which arises from the centrum. So together with the centrum, They protect the spinal cord. So that is the function of the neural arc. Then we have another structure that is called zygapophyses. Zygapophyses. And these zygapophyses are either found on the posterior end and at the anterior end. Now, anteriorly, at the anterior view, these zygapophyses, which are found towards the front, are what we call pre-zygapophyses. Gapophyses. Then at the posterior end, and these pre-zygapophyses are always facing upwards, faces upwards and inwards. Then at the posterior end, that is towards the back, posterior part, we have what we call post-zygapophyses. And these post-zygapophyses faces, they always face downwards and outwards. Downwards and outwards. And these zygapophyses, what do? They are going to be providing that smooth articulation with the successive vertebrae. So are smooth surfaces at the smooth surfaces. And what is the importance of these smooth surfaces of the facets? They articulate, are used to articulate with the successive vertebrae. Articulate with the successive vertebrae. What we call the articulation with the successive vertebrae. Yes, because when we looked at the first two bones, we said of the cervical vertebrae, we have what we call the atlas and the axis. So the axis was forming a process that is called the odontoid process, and when it gets fixed onto the first bone, what we call the atlas, it is articulating onto the atlas. And what is going to assist the axis in articulating with what we call the first bone, the atlas, is the fact that it has what we call the pre-zygapophyses and the post-zygapophyses posteriorly, that is going to be providing that easy articulation. Articulation simply means what? Being fixed on top of another bone. So that is the importance of these zygapophyses.